what has to change is a recognition that some of the assumptions that used to operate in the background, assumptions in the US-China relationship, assumptions about geopolitical stability, some of those assumptions really need to be re-examined. And I think that's what I would suggest is the best way to handle this question of supply chains and resiliency, and how do you weigh the costs versus the benefits. So I think this systematic effort to re-examine your risk exposure at the individual firm level, because the reality is every company is going to have a little different take on what right ought to look like. And as a nation, we'll optimize by having each individual company having gone through and thought systematically about what their risk exposure looks like. So for me, just very crudely, I think risk comes in at least two forms. There's operational risk and there's revenue risk when it comes to US-China relations. On the operational side, there's inputs, which you had already mentioned, critical goods, dependencies on sole source suppliers. Any of those kinds of things are risks that now need to be re-examined in light of this new geopolitical reality that firms find themselves operating in 2023. And I would suggest for the foreseeable future. Also, operation is the value chain, supply chain piece of this equation. China is world-class in a lot of manufacturing. A lot of companies already have operations, and they're very comfortably developed supply chain relationships and ecosystems in China as part of their overall operation strategy. I think that's going to be a painful to adjust. It's going to be costly for firms to adjust. And I think rightly so, firms will resist changing that unless they really feel like they have no alternative, or they must. I think a good example of this is Apple's recent overtures towards India to think about becoming a little bit less uniquely reliant on China.